at Symbiosis Institute of Media and Pune. Uh, we welcome each one of you as potential candidates who will be taking admissions here or who are here to understand how the institute works, what we are, how we have come to be, and what are the offerings that we make in terms of our academic and co-curricular components. To take this discussion forward, before we begin, we'd request each one of you to sort of keep sharing your questions, your concerns with us on the chat window. As and when we receive your queries, we'll try our best to answer them. Before we begin, let's introduce my co-panelist, who is Professor Josraj Arakkal. Would you like to talk about what are your duties here?
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, guys. The whole idea of the session is to give you a sense of the offering from SIMC, the kind of industry you guys will connect with, and of course, post the course, what kind of pathways you could possibly choose. So we really, before you get into your queries, we'll have two segments. Professor Mudita, my co-host, will give you a sense of the offering itself across the 2 years, the kind of specializations we have. And I'll try and give you a sense of what kind of roadmap you could possibly look at post the 2 years of SIMC. Yeah, you want to take on?
Right. As Professor Josraj introduced me, I am Mudita Mishra. I am an assistant professor here, and I work with the MBA Communications Management domain as he does. And so just to give you a quick overview of who we are, Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communication is more than 3 decades old as an institution, as a part of the Symbiosis International Deemed University philosophy, the infrastructure. The university itself is, of course, more than 5 decades old. At SIMC, we run 2 programs, one in MA, which is for journalism and audiovisual. And of course, the other one is MBA in Communications Management, which is what we are here to talk about today. The MBA program primarily is comprised of the overview of the media and communication industry in India, and also how it pans out globally, with an offering in 4 specializations, namely brand communications, public relations, marketing and media analytics, and media management. These 4 specializations are aimed at holistically developing you into individuals who can go on to become marketing and media professionals in the industry, the very evolving dynamic industry that this is. So overall, our syllabus, the subjects that we have offered have also been in tune with how the industry has evolved and shaped itself. And therefore, from a very traditional way of looking at things in a non-digital world to a completely virtual world, we have shaped our course offerings, so to say, our program structure accordingly. And that's where you will see a lot of offerings in the domain of content, in the domain of digital subjects, in the domain, of course, of marketing, but largely in understanding other ambits of communication world, which is where the specializations come in. Josh, would you like to talk about how the industry interface works?
Yeah. So in terms of the 4 groupings, we have 4 streams that we offer. One is brand communication, there is public relations, there is media management, and there is media and marketing analytics, which by now, if you've done the background homework, you would know the kind of offerings we have. From an industry interface point of view, I think it'll be nice if you get a sense of where will you end up post this 2 years of SIMC. The industry we are really catering to is the media and entertainment industry. If you've done some kind of reading, it's a huge industry, growing big time. Yeah, it's in a range of about 2,000 billion Indian rupees. There's a kind of size we are looking at. The kind of streams, the kind of organizations you might end up with, largely it would fall in the domain of advertising agencies, yeah, responsible for the brand creative, media agencies, those who drive the media for the brand. You could end up with a PR agency, research agencies, and of course, to some extent, there are also openings in corporates, which could be in the corporate communications. So it will be very focused kind of learning, which will end up in industry, which is looking for talent. There is a lack of talent. And I think this is where you guys will come in if you do justice to your 2 years of SIMC.
That's a great point to close on, Jose, because this program is a full-time 2-year residential program, which means that you will be living here as residents on this very beautiful Hilltop campus and pursuing your 2-year MBA degree. If you look at the largely the process, and we are talking about this because we are still awaiting your questions, but to give you an overview of the process of admissions, largely, I'm sure you all know that you would be appearing for the common exam, which is known as SNAP, that is held by Symbiosis, that you will have to appear for. The dates for each of these examinations is mentioned on the website. However, just for your information, it's November 24th. Where the SNAP registration and payment closes. Post this, you will be required to fill up the forms for the institutions that you are applying for. Of course, we are talking about Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communication today, and SIMC payment and registration closes in January, on 17th of January to be specific. So you would be appearing for SNAP. You can appear for this entrance exam 3 times, Jos. You can appear for the exam 3 times. Of course, you'll have to pay the fee every time you appear for it, and the best score will be what you will be assessed on, and you will be screened in to then be for you to be eligible for the interview process. Going forward, the interview process is not simply that you will be shortlisted to attempt what we call a group discussion, written aptitude test, and a personal interview process. We call this the GD-PIVAT process, where you would be required to attempt these 3 legs of your final screening, which will be held, of course, online. And you will be facing panels, you will be competing with other peer group members in a group discussion, and writing the aptitude test. All of this consolidated will make for the final marks that you will that will decide whether you get the entry in SIMC or not. But this is largely the logistics of it. I'm sure if you have any queries on that, you would be we'd be happy to answer that. Of course, as we've mentioned, it's all on our website as well. There's a question, there's a comment that has just come in. Somebody has mentioned that it's profile based. That's not very specific.
Kritika, right? Kritika, would you like to expand your query? We're not able to pick up.
So in the meantime, you expand your query. Joyce, is there something that you'd like to take up from the questions?
Yeah, we have been getting some questions along with the registrations in the past couple of days. Some of them has been about what kind of jobs, what kind of career, which is what I touched upon earlier. Yeah, it would be clearly focused with this industry referred to as media and entertainment. So you might end up in an advertising agency as an account management person. You could be part of a media agency as a media planner. Yeah, you could be, if you've done your analytics, you might end up in a research agency. So these are the areas where you could typically end up in jobs with, depending on what specializations you take. Yeah. At this point, if I tell you terms like account management, client servicing, it might seem a bit of a blind spot, but these are areas which will be, you guys will be trained hardcore.
Right. So while we wait for more comments and questions, all right, so there's a query that's just come in. Somebody has done their BBA in logistics, and so would we suggest you to take up the specialization? Well, we are happy and proud to inform you that the program, this degree program of MBA in Communication Management, is inclusive in the sense that it accepts students from all diverse educational backgrounds, meaning that anybody who is having an inclination and passion for being a part of the field of media and communication can very well be a part of it, irrespective of the kind of graduation backgrounds that you come from. I think it should be very clear from the start when you are applying for various colleges under Symbiosis or elsewhere that media and communication MBA, the specialized MBA, is what you want to pursue and for what reasons. We understand that it will be very difficult for you to have specific roles in your head at this point in time, but it will be great to have clarity on the kind of passion you may have for the field, and that's what we are really seeking. So yes, a BBA in the field will also be a workable
Totally.
option. Yeah.
So Shashwat, we are good to consider you. It's about showing your inclination for the specializations you're talking about. Right. Yeah. Ashmita wants to know, sir, I aspire to work in luxury brand management in the future. Would brand communication be a good specialization for me? Totally. Yeah. In fact, today luxury marketing has become a field in itself, and we would help you to understand communication across sectors, across industries, and luxury would be one of them. Sure. That would be a nice way to possibly specialize later on, even from a communication point of view.
Right. And also for Ashmita and for everybody else's information, we would also sort of like to inform you that, you may not necessarily want to choose specializations right away. While people enter SIMC with aspirations of going in the field of public relations or brand comms, media management or marketing and media analytics, there is an entire semester, that is the foundation semester, that is dedicated to sort of not only honing your skills in management communication, but also helping you understand what is it that you would be best suited for. So we'd also request you to take this slow. We hope that you get into SIMC. I'm sure you are great candidates. And once you are here, we'd all help you collectively. All possible stakeholders would help you to understand what is it that would be possibly the best specialization combination for you. On that note, Josh, would you like to talk about the major minor offerings that we have in our specializations now?
4 streams is what you can really offer. One of the 4 streams are brand communication, which typically would be about understanding the content. How do you strategize the communication to the consumer? Second, there is public relations. How do you ensure there is PR which goes out to the market strategically in line with the needs of the brand or the organization? Media management, which is really providing optimized channels of communication to the consumer. And there is the one which is more recent as an offering, the media and marketing analytics, with data being the new buzz in the market. That will train you in terms of understanding analytics and focus you into more research kind of profiles. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry.
Sure. Good.
So those are the 4 specializations, I think very, very well explained by Professor Josraj. And what we have done recently is that we've also created this space for our students to choose not just one, but 2 specializations. So now SIMC offers for the past 2 batches, major and minor specialization selection. So if you're thinking about choosing specializations here after your first semester, you actually have the option of choosing one as a major specialization where you study all components, all subjects under that specialization, along with which you are also allowed to choose a minor specialization under which you'd be studying the really critical subjects of that specialization. So this duality that we are offering in the kind of specializations that we have at SIMC is something that we are really hoping that will sharpen further the skills of the students who are going to become professionals in this industry very soon.
Sure. Thanks, Mujita. Shashwat wants to know whether we are on in Bangalore. No, we don't have a Bangalore offering right now.
I think there's another question. Is this one? Okay, we'll just quickly go to the questions. Yeah. So there's a question from somebody who says, would you say that an MBA in communication would be the best way to go ahead, having done bachelor's in mass media? Well, a bachelor's in mass media opens you up to a variety of postgraduate degrees, frankly speaking. So this question that whether this is the best way to go ahead, well, no, because I think it has to be decided based on what is it that you want to pursue. And if you feel that what you pursued in your bachelor's was something that you loved, it got you hooked and interested in what you want to possibly see in this field and transition yourself into, then yes, this is a program that you must definitely consider.
And Professor Mudita is right. The answer has to come from you. For example, we offer 2, I think we mentioned at the beginning, we have 2 streams. One is the MBA stream, and there is a mass comm across journalism and audiovisual. If you think that's what kicks you the most, that's what gets you excited, it could be even the mass comm. So that's something you'll have to look within yourself and figure out. But yes, MBA can be a great option as well.
Right. Okay, so we have more questions coming in. There's another question. I'm sorry, I'm not able to see the name. Somebody says that they've completed their graduation from IGNU, and is there any problem in taking admission in Symbiosis? Well, I think we'll leave that to our technical team, but on the face of it, I feel that there should not be a problem, and it's
We are
all right.
good.
Yeah,
You can join us.
Yeah, so you'll have to go through the technical nitty-gritties, the entire process. Please get in touch with our admissions department for more details.
The next one is, does work experience matter? Yes, if you have some exposure within the industry that works for you in terms of, it will be an asset. But we have a good ratio of freshers among our students. So yes, if you have work experience, great. If you're a fresher, still, if you make yourself you can justify yourself for this industry, you shouldn't have a problem.
Right, and a lot of organizations that come to us as recruiters do not specify a lot of times that we need people with experience. So there are also fair share of organizations that want to hire freshers. So it depends on how you're defining, does it matter? But yeah, as you said, it's great to be as well versed as possible. Right, there's another question.
Yeah, that's
okay, I'll just scroll it. Which one are you?
Riva, I think Riva was asking whether science graduate can come into MBA communication management. You can, Riva.
Yeah, I think we also answered this earlier, that any graduation background is welcome, as long as you have a clear vision as to why you want to pursue an MBA in communications management.
I think the point we might like to make here is there's a whole market which is offering you MBA in very traditional marketing management, finance, HR. There are not too many offerings out there focused on communication management. So essentially the filter is whether as a person, as someone who is trying to make a career, does this industry excite you? Yeah. Do you really get excited about advertisements? Are you really sympathetic about how the brands connect to the consumer? So if you fall within those kind of filters, the radius, I think this is where you should be. So it doesn't matter what's your graduation, where's your UG from, which discipline, which domain. What really is required is your excitement with this profile of the industry. Hope that makes sense.
On another note, there are some questions, a group of questions that ask the kind of time that we allow for your documents to be submitted, specifically undergraduate documents. And I think this is a question to do with admission technicalities. However, from what we understand, you will be allowed ample time. There's a deadline to it before your first semester ends, I think. But it's not as if it will be all in a jiffy. You will be provided decent amount of time. You'll be informed of it beforehand. But yes, make sure you commence those, initiate those proceedings of getting all those certificates from your alma maters, wherever you are graduating from. And yeah, we do provide you decent amount of time.
Yeah, if there's a delay from your institute itself on your UG certificates, we can empathize, and I'm sure we can work those things out.
Right. There are some questions which are off our area of specialization, so we'd refrain from answering those questions. For example,
we do not have a specialization in agriculture management. We don't.
Yeah. So there's another question on cutoff for both the courses, and we are assuming that cutoff is the admissions cutoff that you are asking about. So for the snap test, the admissions cutoff usually hovers around, for SIMC, it hovers around 60. Of course, it's a relative grading, so which means that
it's really a function of how the performances across the candidates. So, but normally SIMC cutoff would be around 60.
Yeah. So that's about that question. There's some more questions on, okay, there's somebody who's putting in a lot of questions about UG. Is it worth joining the college knowing average placements are okayish with the fee being so high? That's all right. Yeah, and it's so nice of you to put in the polite perfunctories, but that's all right. I think it's good to ask these questions because they, after all, are also a part of the parameters that one looks at when choosing where they want to go. So I think Professor Josraj has already talked about this in detail. Our placements are great. I think if you would have, I'm sure you have done homework on this. And if you visit our website, you'll realize that the last year we've secured 100% placements. And that's not just the first year. We've had outstanding placement records year after year, which means that one, we have great industry collaborations. Our interface is really, really smooth and functional with the industry. Two, our students are constantly honed for the first year and a half, that by the fourth semester, they are really ready for the industry to pick them up. So the placements are not just okay-ish, they are bullish, they are really great, so to say. And I think the question on whether it's worth joining the college, I think that's something that should also be a question that should be directed inside. I think it is definitely worth, if you feel that this is a space where you want to be. If you don't have conviction as to why you want to be in the media and communication space, we'd humbly submit that you do think about where is it that you want to be. If you are sure and confident of being here and pursuing an MBA in communications management, you see the profiles that our students get into, it'll be worth it. So that answer, I think, stands like that.
And just to give you a sense, this is an industry where the whole verticals, most of the verticals are working on very tight margins. So when you're saying placement is okay-ish, if you're talking about the absolute CTZs in the initial years, it isn't possibly compared to the, if you're passing out from a typical MBA marketing kind of formats.
Right.
Yeah, this industry is the beginning salaries, just to give you a sense, at an average, it would be around 7 to 8 lakh, and at the higher end, it would be around 12 to 13. So yes, if that's the reference point, that's something you should be aware of.
Right. So I think these are also statistics that are on our website. I'm sure that's where you're getting this information from. So that's, the average that the industry offers. There's another question on the course, the academics of it. Will this course help me set a foot in the branding side of business, considering you have 3 years of experience in software sales? So I'm assuming you're trying to tie your previous experience in software sales to getting into the branding side of business. And so, yes, the answer to that question, as a follow-up to what we have been saying so far, you will be studying basics of marketing, largely understanding what management functions are. You will be understanding nitty-gritties of sales and HR and finance, economics, and then topping it up with content and digital, and then specializing in the various fields we've been talking about. So yes, the chances that you will get into the branding side of business is very, very high, because that's the business we are in. Having said that, the experience that you have, well, if it comes in handy at some point of your recruitments, and that's a question for much, much later, that's really great. But we feel strongly that any experience largely is a matter, it's largely a question of how good you have come to be. So those 3 years must have taught you something, and that's what we'd say that you build your confidence in. It's not about sales, it's not about softwares, it's about the discipline and rigor that you must have built in yourself by being in that company for 3 years, right? So that's great too.
And sales exposure definitely will help you being a better marketer. So there's always, it can work for you.
Right. Okay, there are more questions. Oh, all right, this is a long question.
We handled the cutoff part. We handled
the cutoffs we've handled. There's another question for the average package, which was just answered. Somebody asked that they filled a form for SIBM. So we're sorry that we'd not be able to answer that question. You may want to, however, get in touch with their admissions department. There are questions about average placements of SIMC again that we have handled. All right, so that's about that question. How many students in one batch? So, anywhere between 120. Our stipulated limit is 120, but we've had batches that can go beyond that by about 20 students, if those are the numbers that we get. But largely our batch strength varies between 120 and 140 to be safe. All right.
Do we have to choose a specialization in our very first semester? You don't have to. You get the first semester to take a call in terms of what works for you. And that's a call you need to take post the first semester. Yeah, so that's the first 6 months. you'll get enough exposure to the important subjects from each of the 4 verticals.
Somebody asked that, is it true that media communication is a very restricted field of specialization comparatively to others like HR and marketing, etc.? Well, I think that if you look at the evolving industry space around you, sure, no doubt that the generic MBA model has been in place for a very, very long time. But if you look around you, the digital narrative has only increased, right? What with the advent of everything going online. And with that, what's happened is that organizations have realized the need to have independent communicators, whether in form of branding themselves, whether having reps, or whether having people in the analytics wing or the media management wing. So largely because everything is evolving in a space of communication, which is digital, even the generic MBA programs have started offering these niche categories like branding, communications, like public relations in their generic offerings. So largely to answer that question, we are people who are offering only that specialization, and no, this is not restricted. This is not smaller in comparison to the generic MBA narrative. This is something which is only growing and will keep growing further with every day.
Yeah.
Let's look at other questions. Somebody has applied for SNAP, payment is done, but they're confused in second process. Can we select the college after SNAP? So yes, you can do that. After you've appeared for your written test, the SNAP test, there is a window where you can still apply for colleges there. So as far as SIMC is concerned, we close our payment and registration on the 17th of January, and you would be done with all your SNAP tests in December, and your results would come in by 10th of January, which means technically with SIMC, you will still have 7 days where you can reconsider and apply for SIMC if you've not already applied for it or haven't applied till December. So yes. Okay. You want to take this?
Yeah, there's someone who's asking a bit more on media and marketing analytics. By now, you all appreciate that data is become huge across industries. So this is one of our recent additions in terms of the offerings specialization, media and marketing analytics, which is something which will help you work on data. Yeah, how to manage data, how do you churn out a story from data. So you'll be actually working on platforms like R and Python as well. Yeah, and in terms of the stream and how it can take in the career, largely it would be in agencies which are analytics, and research agencies would be the scope in terms of the specialization. And it is something you can either choose as a major or a minor, depending on how you want to be focusing on that.
Right. There are questions again on placements. And sorry, before that, there's a question on, in order to prepare well for the selection process other than SNAP, it would be helpful if you could mention topics on which we should be prepared. I'm sure you are already exposed to the larger narrative of competitive exams, especially for MBA. And there's a ton of information out there, but you should be well versed in your verbal abilities, in your logical reasoning, in your similarly related areas.
It's mix of Conti, Colli, and logistics.
Right. So, and language. So these are the areas that you should brush up on, polish well on, and of course, keep yourself abreast with what's happening in the world so that you can talk about those things if at all you're talked to in your interview. So, moving further with more questions, what kind of placements are expected in terms of job exposure? I think we've covered that pretty much. So we hope that that query is resolved. In case you have more specific queries, please post them in. Is there any field like MBA, IT? Is there any field like MBA IT exists? I'm sure we have a lot of programs within Symbiosis in various fields, and we'd request you to check those programs out. But yeah, this can definitely be explored.
We don't offer though. Yeah.
Can this course be helpful in opening opportunities in the book publishing industry, in management or other roles? You want to take that?
Depends on what kind of a role you're looking at, right? If you're talking about joining a publishing house in terms of marketing, in terms of communication, this would be tailor-made. So I think it doesn't close to any industry in terms of how it can be used. It can be any FMCGs, it can be your durables, it can be book publishing, it can be your entertainment, television, OTT. Yeah, it doesn't really close you into any industries. The principles of communication, how do you churn out strategically sound communication, will remain the same. Of course, you need to understand the intricacies of each industry. That's very important, but it works across.
All right, there's an interesting question from one of our candidates shows. Apparently, there's somebody who's appeared for our process earlier as well. And they say that they've been reading ET Brand Equity and AFAX very frequently. They read it every day, come from engineering background. And they've also prepared for UPSC for 3 years, currently working on Plan B, passionate about marketing and comms. Question is, one of mind-blowing things in today's industry, uncertainty, especially pandemic, that creativity is important. So any prerequisite skills required for the same? Well, we've been talking about those skills, but let's try and put them together once again. I think to be a part of this industry, I think let me commend you first at the discipline that you have in you for sticking to your dream. You appeared for UPSC exams 3 times, and which means that there is already some kind of rigor and method and routine that you have to you, right? I think with that, if you map it with this passion, if you want to map it to an MBA in communications and management, which is what you say, it's also something you are passionate about. I think with that discipline, you should be able to foster other things. So yes, creativity is important. We require you to be creative communicators, but we also want you to be methodical. We also want you to be strategists, and therefore you need to be able to plan, right? And therefore you also need to be able to execute. So all the nitty-gritties, the nuances of management skills would fall into what we are looking for in professionals like you. So I think armed with the experience that you already have with your previous work, I think you are already on your way to honing those skills. Just try and focus now on what are the key requirements of Marcom, scour the industry, read up on what's been happening as you already are. And I think you are already prepared to come and appear for all the exams that we are offering.
Yeah, the next one is saying, I wish to be involved in the field of CSR. Would this specialization put me in the right trajectory for that? Totally. I think even if you're end up, let's say, if you're looking at social sector as a possible line roadmap, and you're finally pitching for funds, right? And effective communication, how do you get across to the organizations? It will matter that you're putting across a sound platform. You justify the reason for existence, and I'm sure it can be useful across in all industries, including CSR. I wouldn't really know what kind of CSR role and what kind of trajectory you plan to take, but it'll come into play.
Right, and we also have offerings on those lines as part of our curriculum. So there's somebody who asks, which Symbiosis college is the best? The one you have the most passion for, frankly. I think you'd find that institution serves you best.
And the rankings are all there in the public domain, right?
Right. So the next question is, does MBA communication limit the opportunities as compared to MA communications, or will they still be available if we decide to take up MA? That's it's again something that we have been trying to explain, that both the programs are very different. So of course, this is not a discussion on the MA programs that we offer, but I'm sure if somebody is out there who is willing to become a great filmmaker, master in the audiovisual field, or somebody who wishes to be the best possible journalist that they can be, or study areas related to that, I think you're already clear and set as to that's what you want to do. MBA in communication management makes you great brand communicators, makes you wonderful PR leaders, media managers, number crunchers in form of marketing and media analysts. So I think this question itself needs to be more clearly settled in your head as to what do you want to do, and none is limiting. If you wish to become a journalist, then that's where you go, and you don't look at anything that you have left as an opportunity cost, because you are where you want to be. So there's nothing limiting unless you are confused in your head as to what you wanted to do. So that's why this discussion, this webinar, try and prepare as much, try and read as much, so that when you take the final informed decision, you know that you've gone all out and there's nothing limiting about it. right?
I think the next one we have handled earlier as well. What are the kind of job profiles you will end up with after the course? You could be an account planner, you could be an account manager, a media planner with a media agency. Yeah, you could be in the research, you could be in the corporate communications role. So these are the various spectrum of possible offerings, the roles you might end up with.
Right. Some more questions, Jose, are about how the process is going to be. Is it going to be virtual or physical? And this is a good question. This process is going to be an online process. So all your, of course, you would be required to write the written aptitude test from the centers that you are allocated. You will be required to appear also for your interviews and group discussions likewise. So it's going to be an online process, and you're not, as of now, required to visit the campus for the process. Okay. So there's another question about MBA communication management versus the MA. So we've just answered that. Can we give SNAP for MBA in IT? I'm sure you can, but as we said that you can please search for relevant colleges. Can you please tell about the scope of the course? So I think all the questions that we've been answering are attempted at explaining the scope in terms of your personal development, right? In terms of the expanse of courses that we offer from the very foundation semester to the last semester. But in addition to the personal grooming and growth, there's also the industry interface that Professor Josraj has been talking about. And I think so the scope lies somewhere here, right? In those answers, you can develop yourself as a person, you can develop your networks with the industry, you can develop yourself as a person who works in teams with new group of people who will be part of your classrooms. The scope is immense. All you have to do is just get to know us a little more, ask the right questions, and prepare to be here. All right.
How is SIMC different from SIBM? I think it's pretty much straightforward. We have been detailing till now. It's a course very clearly focused on the media and entertainment industry. SIBM is mostly generic offerings across marketing, finance, HR, the works. I'm sure the website will have it all. We are purely focused at the communication domain.
The other questions that we see, of course, placement related questions we've already answered. There's somebody who's thanking us for helping us answer all of their questions. So thanks to you for posing those questions to us. Somebody's asking, they want to do an MBA in finance. SIMC is all about media, or that is good for finance also. So no, we do have subjects which we want to equip you also as MBA students at the end of the day. So we will be offering you subjects that will sort of equip you with an understanding of financial markets, financial institutions, of course, the very basics of finance. But those are not going to be at the core of what we offer. These are supporting courses that will help you become business managers, but at the core, at the heart, will remain the management of communication. So no, if finance is only what you want to pursue, this course will not offer you that. This?
I think, yeah, symbiosis-based clubs.
Okay, so somebody's asking questions about symbiosis clubs that we can be a part of and can grow. Oh, of course. So do you want to take that?
I think there are enough and more. In fact, we ensure that every student is aligned to one of the clubs. And the clubs there are 4 straightforward specialization clubs. Then we have clubs which is dedicated to competitions. We have clubs dedicated to branding. Yeah, we have clubs dedicated to enough roles and across. So I don't think you should be worried about where if there are clubs enough. For you, it might be more important to figure out where will you fit in. Yeah. Enough opportunities for you to align to a club.
Right. So there's a question about photojournalism, and is that a part of the course? So no, not the MBA in Communications Management does not offer you photojournalism as a course. That's a part of the MA journalism program that we offer.
Is staying at the hostel compulsory? It is. We are a 100% residential campus.
So also that just in retrospect brings to my mind 2 things. One, of course, what Professor Josraj talked about, we have a host of clubs. We have some things which we call circles and cells, right? So it's not just the co-curricular growth that you will get in terms of being a part of the music club or the dance club, but it's also very, very strongly structured cells. For instance, the alumni relation cell, or the placement cell, or the corporate interface teams, or the marketing society. So we have a lot of cells and committees and clubs in place that will help you hone yourself sharply in those areas. And students have only grown being a part of them. So we encourage you to definitely look up to that, want to be a part of that. Second thing, based on that question, of photojournalism, while we are an MBA in communication management course, we do offer you certain courses that allow you to venture into multimedia production aspects.
Sure,
so while being MBA students in comms management, you would be allowed to understand how, for instance, filmmaking is done, right from pre-production to post-production to the other technical nitty-gritties of it. So for those who are interested, it is offered as an elective towards the second year, I believe. And so it's not as if we are keeping you away from it. The beauty of being a part of SIMC is that because these two different programs coexist, we constantly also learn from each other, and therefore also offer a variety of these courses across. Of course, that's far and few in between, but yes, you would be. So not photojournalism, but definitely aspects of filmmaking, multimedia production in that sense.
What are the college timings? Are there any shifts? I think it should be mentally ready for 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the bare minimum.
There's one shift, and that's just about it. It's a pretty long shift. Yeah. Once you sign up, you are in it forever. So what are the few program outcomes or job profiles of MBA in communications? Well, I think largely key program outcome is that we are looking to build communicators and professionals who can go out and be a part of this world, displaying full ethics and integrity, being professional communicators who work towards the cause of developing global citizenship, who contribute to society as entrepreneurs or as media communication professionals. Because you use the word outcome, and that's something that we take very seriously. We have these structured outcomes for every program, and comms management as a program espouses all these things that I just spoke of. So we hope that you will become those kinds of professionals who are supposed to take the society forward and communicate the best, right?
Yeah. Ma'am, I'll be graduating in July 2023. You can apply. Yeah, we'll of course give you that. It should be fine, right? Yeah, you can.
Okay. Any opportunity in international journalism? So this is not the forum for it, as we've been establishing. This is an MBA in communications management. And so that's a question out of the scope of our area. Does it work to do data sciences having a BTech in textiles, which is basically non-IT? So we are assuming you are wanting to understand if you can be a part of the analytics specialization with this kind of background. Yes, most definitely. All you need to do is brush up on those skills and be very clear why you're coming here.
And the good news is you're not going to restrict to analytics alone. You can take another vertical along with it to make it a kind of a balanced mix for yourself.
Right. All right. So we've addressed the cutoff issues. Could you please elaborate on the graphic designing and the requirements under the course that is required? So this is not a full-fledged, there's no full-fledged focus on graphic designing. There are a couple of courses here and there that will teach you the nuances of those designings, because they're a part of maybe content, or because they're a part of, learning some software tools like Photoshop and things like that. But largely because this is an MBA comms management course, there is no dedicated focus on graphic designing. That's a part, however, of the MA programs. Can this course be helpful in opening opportunities in book publishing industry? I think we've addressed this question.
Let's come back.
Okay. Should we repeat this? Okay. Speaking of placements, generally, what are the job roles that could be expected? So I think Professor Josraj has addressed those queries. For HR, which of the Symbiosis College is the best? We'll leave it up to you to be the great researchers that you are. But yeah, all the information is out there. You can look up the kind of colleges the university has to offer. Can you tell us about the campus life? Well, the campus life is really cool, isn't it?
It is, I think. It's for you to decide how well it goes for you. It's a lovely campus. You might have seen by now at least, the visuals on the website at least. There's lots of life even outside your academia happenings through the day. As some of you brought up the whole, how a lot of clubs and cells you can be part of. And yes, it's if you really walk around the campus, you can do at least 10,000 steps a day. So even the fitness part of it gets sorted. It's a nice place. So, and how much you get out of the campus will really depend on how much you're willing to put in, right? And that's the thing you need to keep in mind.
Right. Somebody asks, will they get a chance to work on life projects?
Yeah, we do.
So, we do have one as a part of our program structure. We have an offering of projects where we have dedicated project cell that helps you acquire projects and then you work on them. However, in addition to this, you also have the opportunity of securing projects on your own. So there's, of course, there are terms and conditions that we will inform you of when you pursue projects so that they don't intervene with your academics. But yes, you are allowed to take up life projects and you will get the opportunity of pursuing projects along with doing an internship as well as pursuing your academics.
Can we change our majors halfway? We'll give you enough counseling, guidance, and direction in terms of which major you should be taking. So that process will be very exhaustive. But once you've taken a call after that, once you've decided on your major, it's more or less fixed. But the good thing for you is you have the whole semester, and post that semester, you'll have enough faculties whom you can go and have a chat with in terms of where do you think, where you'll be fitting in the best. So that you've got enough counseling and guidance happening for you guys. So don't worry about that. But yes, once you have decided post all those discussions, it's more or less final.
Right. There's a question on, are there any international student exchange programs or global exposure? So yes, offered by SIMC as well and offered by the university as well. So there's something called as the Global Immersion Program, where we have partnerships with certain universities. Of course, post-COVID, things have been a little fluid in the sense of the restrictions that have been levied by various countries and the universities therein. But having said that, pre-COVID, we did have every year students participating, getting selected for a global immersion program. They used to visit these universities in UK and US and largely European universities as well. And it was a great fulfilling exchange, student exchange. On the other hand, we also have a lot of international partners who visit SIMC. And so then we forge our own relationships with those partners. And what happens by way of those partnerships is that, for instance, their faculty members come here and teach, us go there and teach. Similarly, student exchange happens, or the faculty from abroad would want to understand your take on a subject that is taught in India that you've been studying. So there are a lot of opportunities for internationalization of academics, as we would say. And yes, so that exists. But however, specifically, there are immersion programs. We may want to understand how they're working right now in the face of COVID. But yes, we do have those in place. Okay, we may want to go. Can we also select program after the exam or prior to the exam? So yeah, I'm assuming we've answered this.
Yeah.
You can choose the college or the institution, post the snap test as well. Somebody asked that they are an engineer with a blend of photography, keen towards media industry. Which course will help you get their MBA or MA? Well,
I think this will have to again come from you, right? These are two totally different offerings. One is more from a business point of view, and one is more in terms of if you want to be a journalist, if you want to be a film producer, you do look at mass comm. So these are two different in terms of their sheer backbone of the course itself. So it really depends on what kind of career, what kind of trajectory you want your career to take. Yeah, there are two different offerings, and this is called, you'll have to figure out for yourself.
Right. We've spoken about campus placements, international programs. There's some questions on doing my BA in Communications English, which covers all aspects of communication. Does this prove to be so added advantage? Well, in terms of your larger understanding of communications, sure, because there are people who would be coming from backgrounds that may have nothing to do with communication. So sure, you would have an understanding of the field, and therefore you may be able to help your peers and participate in a constructive way in the classroom. So that could be an advantage to what you have done. Usually, okay, so there's a question on the joining date, and usually a semester begins in June, July of every year. So those specific dates will be informed to you with every year, specifically as it comes. But yeah, largely the joining happens.
Work on June 23 as your joining month, at least right now.
Yeah. Somebody asks, will my current package be considered during the placement process, or will I have to start afresh?
This will really depend on what kind of exposure, what kind of work exposure you have. If it's aligned to the role you're looking at, yes, it might carry some weight. If there's no connection to the industry and the kind of profile you're looking at, it will not really have too much of weightage. So it really depends on what kind of work, what kind of exposure, what industry, what organization you work with, and the organization you're looking at. That will be if it's relevant to the industry you're looking at, the organization you're looking at, it will surely carry some weight.
Somebody asks questions on what month we'll start. So we'll answer that. June 23. Does first year, second year educational gap? Okay, so 1 year, 2 year gap matters. Well, no, it's simply a function of what you have been doing in that time. I think as long as you can be sure about what did you do with yourself during that time, was it a constructive period, did you invest yourself in something that is also going to be a value addition to the institution, I do not think that the gaps really matter, right? Is there any reservation for defense personnel children? There is no reservation for defense personnel children, and there's another campus that admits students from the defense background.
Not at SIMC.
But not at SIMC. Okay, so yeah, right. I think this is largely it. We've received a lot of questions, and we see that the time is up. We may not be able to answer all your queries, but we hope that we have given you a holistic overview of how things are going to be here. And having said that, we've dropped a message in the chat box with an email ID. And if you feel that there are any queries that remain even after this session, we'd invite you to please write to us asking those queries. We'd be very happy to answer your questions. And that's it.
I hope this was useful. Meanwhile, wish you guys all the best and hope to see you all at the batch at the campus. Take care.
Best wishes to all of you. Do well and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.